My name is Becky Gimple, and I am the incoming president and current vice president of membership for the Zonta Club of Burbank area. I'm really excited to start us off on a presentation about Facebook. We wanted to start with Facebook because this is the platform that probably the most of you are familiar with and have used on either a professional or a personal basis. Facebook is a social networking website where users can post comments, share photographs, create events, post links to news or other interesting content on the web, chat live, and watch short form video. The thing I wanted to start off with is that a mistake that some organizations make is that for their organization, they make a Facebook account or a profile as opposed to a Facebook page. I'm going to share my screen now so that you can sort of see what I'm talking about. One second. Okay, hopefully everyone can see the screen. And what this is showing right now is the Zonta Club of Burbank area's Facebook page. So as you can see here, it's not my personal page, it's not Becky Gimple, it is the Zonta Club of Burbank area's page. If you are not really sure about what I'm talking about or this is confusing to you, please feel free to message any of us privately about how to create a page for your Zonta Club as opposed to a person page. Just briefly, you can do this by going to facebook.com/pages/create and follow all of the instructions, and it'll tell you what to do. So what I'm going to start off with is scheduling posts. So now most of you know here is where you would just write a post if you're doing something saying about an event or sharing some information. But what Facebook has actually recently added is right here where it's publishing tools. This is actually a fairly new feature. So if you look here, what Facebook has done is really made this platform so that you can see all of your posts. Over here, you can create a post. Here's a little bit of a lag, so I'm just waiting for it to open. So what you can do here is if you wanted to make a sample post, you can either share now or you have options. What you can do is you can schedule it for the future, you can backdate it, or you can save a draft. Saving a draft might be a good idea if, say, you don't have all the information yet, or you want to have a couple posts ready to go, but you're not ready to share yet. Scheduling is a really great tool and something that I've used in the past for 16 days of activism. If you don't have a lot of time during the week, or scheduling on Facebook is something, or posting on Facebook is not something that you do often, you might find it helpful to schedule lots of posts in advance. For 16 days of activism, what I did is that I would schedule posts for every day of the 16 days and then schedule when they will appear according to times that might work best. So since I work a 9-to-5 job, I can't necessarily be on Facebook and post something at 11 a.m. But if I schedule it ahead of time so that it will post at that time, that makes it easier for me, and that way I'm not forgetting to post anything. So what else you can do in this platform here, let me get out of it, is that you can look to see how your posts are doing. As you can see, it's telling me some old stuff here. Let's go back. So right here, it tells you the reach and it tells you the engagement. The reach is going to be how many people viewed your posts, and the engagement is going to be in what manner they engaged with it, whether that's a like, whether that's a comment, or what have you. I find this really good so that you can see what sort of posts do better than others. So for instance, we had a Denim Day post recently that reached 21 people. This Denim Day post over here reached 95 people and had 19 different post engagements. So you can look to see what people engage with more and what they don't, so you can try to post things that work, that have better engagement. There's a bunch of other stuff over here on the left too that gets a little bit more advanced. Down here, there's Canvas, we have events, shop, which doesn't really apply to most of us here, branded contents, videos, stories. Stories are more for images similar to a Instagram page, Not something that I necessarily use as much for our Facebook page, but you might find that helpful for yours. So going back to our main page, one of the most important things I find with Facebook is that you need to make sure that you are updating somewhat frequently. It's really, if someone goes to your Facebook page and sees that you haven't had any posts since 2011, it's really going to turn them off and think that maybe your club doesn't exist anymore, maybe you just don't have much to say, and that's really going to turn people off. So even if you don't post every day, try to at least keep your content somewhat current and post something. A good way to do this is to share other people's posts. District 9 has a Facebook page, other Zonta clubs have Facebook pages, and you can share their posts to your page. And what that helps to do is that people will see that content even if you're not creating that content yourself. Another thing that's great for sharing is you can like different pages as your Facebook page. So if you see pages liked by this page, we have here, so we're in the Burbank area. One of our politicians is Laura Friedman. We like some other Zonta clubs. We like different places in the Burbank area like the school district, other service clubs like the Lions Club, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, the library, and then other nonprofit organizations we work with, such as Journey Out, which helps fight human trafficking. So by liking these pages, it sort of creates that interaction with other pages in our area. What I find really good to do is to tag some of these organizations or people in our messages to create interaction. So for instance, to tag something, say you had an event and you wanted to thank them, and you would go @ Journey Out. It'll come eventually. The thing with tagging is that it can be difficult to find it, so you have to make sure that the one you're looking for comes up. So here's Journey Out. So now when I tag Journey Out, they're going to get a notification. And what's good with this is, let's say we're thanking them for participating with us in a recent event. What Journey Out can do is reshare our post on their page, and thus our message will get out to all their followers too. So if we don't have as many followers on our Facebook page, but Journey Out has a ton, now all of those people are able to see what we've posted on our page and can see what we're about. So this is a really great way to interact with your supporters, with like-minded organizations, and create opportunities for them to share your content. And what else I recommend you do is, by following and liking those local nonprofits, service clubs, politicians, and others, not only can you interact with them, but you can see what's going on in your area. I try to follow all the different service clubs in the Burbank, Glendale, and San Fernando Valley area to find out about what events are going on, see what they're going to, and that's a great way to just get to know the community a little bit better, to find potential new members or just people that might attend our events. It really helps you to be active and to know what's going on. One last thing that I'm just going to talk about is encourage the Zontians in your group to engage with your page. Not just liking a post, which would be here, but commenting, sharing, doing whatever you can to get that across. And that's going to help your engagement, but that's also going to help your page show up on their friends' pages and make you more prominent. The thing is that if there's not much interaction on your page, it honestly might be better to not have a page at all, because it's not going to have too much of an impact. If someone who doesn't know about your club is just finding your page for the first time, you want them to see that people are interacting with you, that people know what you're about, and that your information is current. This is very important. So this is a little bit about Facebook. I think I've covered everything here. Now, if you want to ask questions in the chat box, I see that there's one here from a Teresa. Says, can you please discern between Facebook pages and Facebook groups? That's actually a great question. So the thing with, let me put my camera back on so you can see me. So Facebook groups are usually private. The thing about a Facebook group is that you're not going to get your message across as much. The reason pages are preferred is because anybody can look at your page and that information is not private. You might not be willing to join a group if you don't know much about it. If someone's never heard of Zonta, they don't even know what that word is, they're less likely to join the group. But if they can look at the page, they can just look at it casually, see what it is, see what your message is. A group might be good for your individual club among the members. So let's say you want to use Facebook and a group to say, for instance, when our next meeting is, what we're voting about, here's a flyer that I want to use for our next event. That's where a group comes in handy because the general public is not going to see that information. You want your page to look professional, have professional information, and so that anyone that just comes across your page, whether they just saw it from a friend, they saw it shared, can see what's going on and see what your Zonta Club and Zonta in general is about. Okay, let's see. Another question. Can you explain the difference between sharing a page, sharing now, sharing on the timeline, etc.? That's also a great question. Let me go back to sharing my screen real quick so that I can show that a little bit more. So the great thing about sharing is that you can do that from your regular account too. So let me go to my page as Becky. Leave this page. Okay, so let's say I want to find something that might be good to share. A little bit slow, so let's just take this page. Safe place for youth. It's not really related to Zonta, but if you were to share this right now, if you see this icon here, this is me as a person. If I was to click share, it would share to my personal page. To share this to the Zonta page, you want to do share to a page. So this is the difference between these things. So share now is going to share to Becky Gimple, me as a person. Send as a message would be if I wanted to say, send this privately to Brittany. Share in a group would be if I have the group, say our club, and I wanted to share this within a group. Share on a friend's timeline would be, I want to share this publicly on Brittany's page. And share to a page here is what we're going to want to use for our Zonta clubs. So now if you see here, share on a page you manage. So you do need to manage the page in order to use this function, which is something that I forgot to bring up, which is that you're going to want to make administrators for your Zonta page for people who can share on your behalf. So these are going to be maybe your president, maybe your board members, maybe everyone in your Zonta club, people who are sharing things to your page. You want to be careful about who you make an administrator though, because too many cooks in the kitchen. It can be bad if lots of people have access and everyone is sharing. So you want to come to an understanding of who can share things on your page. So now here, let's say we wanted to share something. I can either share this without posting anything on top, or I could post something like, check this out. Something like that. And then you would post here, and that would share to your page. So you can see up here, it toggles to the page as opposed to me as a person. This can be confusing, and I do this on my phone a lot, so you are going to want to make sure that you're sharing it to your Zonta page and not you as a person. Maybe you want to do both, which is fine, but you just want to know where you're sharing it to and how that works. Okay, let's look at some other questions. You can link Facebook to Instagram. Facebook is photo driven, so it can highlight club activities. In Instagram, you can share to Facebook. That's totally true. We didn't include Instagram for this chat today, but Instagram is another great tool. And because Facebook and Instagram work seamlessly together, you can really go between the two very easily. There's another platform, if you're even getting more advanced, called Hootsuite that our club uses, where you can share to multiple platforms. This is a bit advanced though, so we're trying to sort of go towards what just the regular easiest is here. Okay, let's see. How many people in a club should be able to post to the page? Should clubs be worried if there's only one person? That's a really good question. So for us, we did have a couple people as administrators, people who were maybe more Facebook savvy, maybe have used Facebook more than others. However, I am the main administrator of our page, and I am the person that posts more often. You can see here, now this isn't going to be public to people. This is just when you're an administrator. It says published by Becky Gimple. So you're able to see other administrators who's posting what. So for instance, if someone else in my club posted here, it would say posted by that person. This is good because if you're the main person posting and you see something else posted, you want to know who's posting that there. So in terms of, the voice of the organization, you sort of want to just be clear with the people who have access to your Facebook page, how often you're posting, that maybe you're not posting conflicting content, and how that works. I think our club just came to an understanding that I would be the person who is primarily focusing on our Facebook page. If say I'm busy, say I'm at work and I can't get to the Facebook page, I don't have access to the internet at the moment, maybe I would text someone in our club who is an administrator and say, hey, I just saw this great legislation passed. Can you post it to the Facebook page? And they would do that. Just real quick, edit page info. This is going to be where you figure out who is working on your page. I just clicked on page roles, and it's going to say assign a new role. So as you can see here, our page has a couple administrators. I'm one, our club president is one, and Brittany is one. We could definitely make more. There could just be one. It's totally your preference of something that you can work on. In terms of being worried if it's only one person, it definitely depends on that person. If that person is on it, then that would be great. I would think that maybe more than one administrator would be preferable though. Let's see here. Someone did make the observation that groups can be public too, but the page is the voice of the organization. That's a really good point. Groups, I find that not many people look at groups as much anymore, to be honest. The groups that I'm in personally are things that are primarily private. So I have, say, like my high school graduation group, my college group, things like that, things that say, aren't really going to the general public. Okay, Nikki posted, what happens when the person who set up the Facebook page leaves the club? Can you set up a Facebook page that is attached to a club and not an individual? Is there a way to transfer ownership so that you don't lose everything? That's a really good question. So the thing about the page is that you do have that ability. One of the reasons that you probably do want more than one administrator is for that reason, actually. So once you have an administrator and more than one, they have all of the rights as other people do. So what that means is that, let's say I moved and joined a different Zonta club in a different area, I would be able to leave myself as an administrator, as in like I would take the administrator access off of myself. It would confirm that I want to do this, and then someone else would be that administrator. So it's actually really good in that sense, because unlike a Facebook page for a person, there's no password, there's different things that you have there. So I think that answers that question. You wouldn't really lose everything because the page is always there. There's different people that can be an administrator, and once someone takes over as an administrator, then you don't really need that anymore. So like here, Becky Gimple, edit. So I could remove myself as an administrator if I wanted to, right here. And as you can see here, what an administrator does is they manage all aspects of the page and can publish. So I don't want to do that obviously right now, but if I did leave the club, that's what I would do, and the other admins would take over. Okay, so do we have any other Facebook questions? Just put in the chat if you have any questions. Okay, thank you. And we're going to do a general Q&A at the end, just for, if there's anything else. So if you did have any Facebook questions that we didn't get to right now, we can cover that at the end. So one thing, just as a good segue, is that a great platform to use with Facebook is Canva. And Christy is going to tell you about Canva now, how you can use that with both Facebook and other platforms. So take it away, Christy.
Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me? Just a thumbs up if you can, or had not, perfect, thank you. And for those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Christy Matthews, and I am the outgoing president of the Zonta Club of Newport Harbor, and I am the incoming area director for Area 4 in District 9, as well as the co-chair for the District 9 conference that will be taking place in 2021. And as Becky mentioned, it's great to be able to use Facebook and understand how that works. One of the challenges is, as Laura mentioned, Facebook is a visual medium. People are going to be more engaged with your activity if you have good images. That can be photos, that can be flyers, that can be designs. And if you're like me, my company actually prints t-shirts. I have a graphic design program, but when I sit there and stare at a blank page, I have no idea what to do with that. I don't know how to make these lovely designs and these beautiful pieces that I see everyone else making. So I was really excited to find the website Canva, and again, that's canva.com. And Canva is actually a free website that was created by a college student in Australia several years ago because she felt that you shouldn't have to have a Photoshop subscription or pay a lot of money or do a lot of training in order to be able to learn how to make great designs. So what Canva does is it actually gives you templates that you can then turn around and customize in all kinds of different formats. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how that works, but the first thing I'm going to do, give me a moment, I'll share my screen with you, is I'm going to show you some of the different flyers that we've made for our club in Canva. So we do a grants dinner every year. This was the grants dinner that we did in April. This entire flyer, everything on this flyer, came to it from Canva. Then we did the same grants dinner. We used the same format, but we mixed up the fonts and we mixed up the photo so that it still has some similar branding and some similar consistency, but it does look different and it identifies that it's a different event. We hosted a centennial celebration for our club and for Zonta, and so this is a flyer that we did to promote that activity. Again, all of this is coming directly from Canva. We sponsor film students every year through Chapman University as a result of our LunaFest fundraiser. So I made a flyer that promoted when their film screenings were, that we were able to distribute to our members and to those people who are in our distribution database. We host a holiday brunch every year, so we have a holiday brunch flyer that we've created. And then because we had to do a virtual installation for our leadership team this year, we actually made little quote signs that we had printed up on foam core and we delivered to each of our board members so they had a little something since we weren't able to be together in person. Again, all of this I made in about 7 minutes in Canva, just by putting in some pieces and changing some text. And then last 2 pieces, we actually made an infographic for our club that talks about the money that we have contributed to our local community, our volunteer hours, and our scholarship. This was created in Canva using an infographic. And then going back to Becky and Facebook, this is actually just a little Facebook image that we created for Valentine's Day, just with a quote and a nice little graphic. That all came from Canva. So now that we've seen a little bit about what we can do with Canva, let's take a look at Canva itself. And just give me a moment, I need to change the application that my screen is sharing with you. Bear with me just a moment. And we will switch now to Canva. So with Canva, you can actually go ahead and create, it's a completely free account. They do offer a pro subscription as well, but that basically only gives you if you need to be able to resize, if there's things that you're wanting to do that are a little more specific. I personally use a Canva Pro subscription, so we're not looking at my actual Canva account. I created a test account for us today to go ahead and use. But this is the homepage for Canva. So there's a couple of ways that you can get started. You can click over here to create a design, and when you do that, you're going to see that it's giving you options for all the different kinds of designs that you can create. You can make flyers or posters, you can do an Instagram post to Laura's point, you can do a Facebook post, you can do an infographic. The reason that you want to start with the type of piece that you're creating is unless you have a pro subscription, you can't resize it. So it's better to start with the average shape or configuration that you want to go. It'll make it easier when you go to export your design. You can also go over here to templates, and again, you will see those options, but you'll see it in a different format. If you know you want social media, you can see all the different types of social media templates that you can use. If you know you are doing something for marketing, so basically this is where you want to start, depending on what you want to create. Let's say that we're going to make a flyer. We have a club event coming up and we want to make a flyer. So we're going to click flyer, and then we're going to see all the different templates that are available. And you can basically scroll through. You can see that there are themes. So you can scroll through and see which themes are, or you can search. Now, I do not personally design in this way. I wanted to show you that it exists. How I design is I move right into the design editor. So I click create a design, and when I want to make a flyer, I click flyer, and that puts me into the design editor page. So basically all the different work that we're going to do for designing our flyer is going to be in here. And I just went in and I chose one when I was playing around yesterday. So here's a fundraiser design. This is the template that Canva has given me. This is a place that I'm starting from. This is not necessarily going to be my final flyer. Everything that you see on this flyer can be 100% edited by you in a very click. You can click and change or drop. So let's start with an example. Here you can see that this photo has watermarks on it. It's because this is a Canva Pro photo. So if I had a subscription, these watermarks would not show up. But say that I don't want a subscription, but I want to just use this photo because I love this photo. You'll see here that there's an option to remove watermarks. And when you click on that, it will give you the option to purchase the image for $1. Now, obviously, you don't want to $1 yourself to death and do that with a lot, but I find that this is another great way. If you really find some imagery that you love and you want to be able to use, if you're at all familiar with the cost of purchasing images on the web, $1 is not that expensive. And then once you purchase it, it belongs to you. But if you don't want to spend that dollar, what you can do is you can actually go to the Photos tab, and you will find all sorts of photos, literally millions of photos. You can also import your own photos. So for example, let's first start, and when you click on it, you will see free. So if I wanted to switch the photo out from this Hands Heart photo, that's literally all I did. I clicked on it and I moved it into the image. And then I can just drag and drop. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I put 2 there. I can resize it. I can crop it. I can do anything I want. It's extremely easy just with moving your mouse. If I don't like that image or I don't like the way that the size works, I literally click delete and it goes away. One thing that is nice with Canva is it automatically saves the things that you are doing. So you don't have to worry about resaving constantly or having something come up and you have a problem with your computer and you've lost the design that you're working on. You'll see up here there's a little bit of text that says all changes saved. So right when I move, if I use this cookie, you'll see that it says unsaved changes. Canva automatically saves every minute. So you can already see that that has changed. If for some reason I say, oh wait, I deleted something I didn't mean to delete, or I made a mistake, there is an undo button. So even though it automatically saves, you're not completely locked into that. You can just go ahead and click undo and it'll take you right back. So that's a little bit about how you can modify the photos. You can also upload your own photos or logos. So you have your club logo, you may have some images that you've used for the club, and that's what you want to incorporate into a flyer. So again, over here, all your activity is going to take place over here on the left. You'll see uploads. I went ahead and put some files into this folder this morning. So there's already some photos here, but you can also, it's very easy. Right here, you click on upload an image or video. So if you have your Zonta photos saved and you want to go ahead and just update them, it's literally as easy as clicking on upload. You will see where all of your different graphics are. Here's our lovely club member, Bonnie Schumacher, interacting with some other ladies at a Zonta event. I can directly upload that image and then drag and drop it right into my flyer. So it may make sense for you to go ahead and proactively upload some images, but as you can see, it only takes a minute to do it while you're actually in the design process. And then once you've uploaded an image, it will stay in your image library. So now we can go back to our design. You can work on the design no matter where you are here, but if you want to insert different elements, you can basically navigate through here. So my fundraiser is not called Build from the Heart Fundraiser, so I need to change the name of that fundraiser. All I have to do is highlight and just type in and type over what the name of my fundraiser is. Now say that I'm not really a fan of that font, no problem. I'm in a text box, so you'll see up here now I have text box bar navigation. I can click and change the font, and there is no shortage of fonts available in Canva. Anything that has a little crown next to it is going to be a Canva Pro, so you want to avoid that if you are on a free subscription, but you will see that you have lots of options that are not within that Canva Pro. So I can change the font, I can choose to bold it, I can play around with it. I can even change the angle that the piece is at. So there's all kinds of things you can do. You can move it around. I can change the size of it. Say that I don't really like this box within a box, I can delete that, and then I can have the rest of the text. So I don't want to go too in depth, but I do want to show you that it's extremely easy to use this in any way. If I want to add a new box, I just click on text over here, and I can choose either a heading or some text. I can also take advantage of some things that they've already designed for me. So I love this Fab at 50. I maybe am not going to say exactly that, but I really like the way the text has been modified. So I can click on it, did it twice there, and then I can change it to my own text. Completely editable, however I want to do that. Once I have my flyer looking the way that I want to do, then what I need to do is get it out of Canva and get it into whichever format I want to do. One other thing I wanted to share before I do that, another nice thing with Canva is that it's a collaborative design. So say that, for example, using myself and Gwen Black, our co-chairs for the district conference. We're working on a piece and I've made some changes to it, and I know that Gwen also needs to make some changes to it. I can actually go ahead and share this design with her. I can send her an email and I can say, look, would you like to edit this, or do you want to make any changes to this flyer before I go ahead and distribute it? Share would be used for one time. When we get back to the homepage, I'll also show you that you can add people to your team. So if your Zonta Club has a marketing or communications committee and there's 2 or 3 different people that work on pieces, instead of having to share individual designs with them, what you can do is you can actually have them on a team and anyone has access to those pieces anytime they want to. So that's another nice thing. And Canva is 100% online. There's nothing that you're downloading to your system. There's nothing that needs to be added as an app to your phone or your computer. Everything is done on canva.com. Obviously, this flyer is not perfect, but in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and say that we're ready to get this out of Canva and use it for distribution. So in order to do that, there's 2 different ways I can do it. I can click here on the download button, and then I can choose the way that I would like to download it. If I'm going to print it for distribution, I probably want it as a PDF, and I can do it as a small scale or I can do it as high quality. If I was going to put it on the web, I would want either a PNG or a JPEG, and I can export it that way. So you can literally just click that, click download, and once your design is ready to go, a box will pop up. Now, of course, Canva's looking to make some money, so they'll ask you if they can print your pieces for you. You don't need to do that. Just click that box, and then in your computer downloads, you will see that your event is there. It might be easier the other thing, because this is a template. This is called the Build from the Heart fundraiser. You may want to change that and call it your brunch fundraiser, so that when you go into your designs, it's a little easier to sort. But now you have this flyer that you can open up in a PDF format and share to your computer or distribute however you would like. If you have done it and you want something other than a download, you can click on this box here and you will see that there's lots of different ways that you can share. You could actually share this post directly to your Facebook page. You don't have to save the image and then go into Facebook. Now, it does involve connecting your Canva account with your Facebook account. I know everyone is not 100% comfortable with that, but it does make the sharing to Facebook much easier. So you would literally click share to a Facebook page. It's going to ask you to connect your Facebook, because this is a temporary account that I set up. I'm not going to do that, but it literally then will just move you into Facebook, and you would be able to go ahead and post directly to your group's Facebook page. So that's another way to leverage having your Facebook page and your Canva account work directly. This, you'll see I got an error message because my existing Canva account is already connected to my Facebook page, so it won't work for me, but that's exactly how you would do it. And that would be for anything that you've designed, you can export. So that's kind of the basics of how you can use Canva. A couple other things to show. Again, we've looked at photos. You can search for photos. So for example, if you were doing something that was specific to Thanksgiving, you can go up here and type in Thanksgiving, and you will find specific Thanksgiving images. If you wanted something that had to do with volunteers, you can search and find all kinds of images that they've determined meet the criteria of volunteers. One thing I had mentioned earlier is you will see free and pro. So when you're looking at photos, just keep in mind if you see the free here or nothing, or if you see the crown, that means it's a pro photo. So that is another way to avoid, falling in love with an image that you may not want to pay for, but they do give you the option to be able to see that. That's your photos. You can also add elements. I showed you all an infographic that I had made for our club. I was able to go in here and find elements. I wanted some images of money, so I was able to go here and find different pieces that I could insert. So elements as opposed to photos, if you're looking to do a design that has that. We looked at texts here. We personally don't use it for video, but you can insert some video as well. Again, especially if you're doing something for Facebook and you want to have a video and you want to insert some text. Video is another way to really highly engage people on Facebook. So you can go ahead and use that. It gives you that functionality. So lots of different ways that you can use this and different tools that Canva has given you to help you design. Now we go back to home. I'll show you a few other things. So I talked about creating a team. So here is the option from the home page where you can create your team. You just click on create a team and you can choose the people that you would like to invite. I will tell you this is one benefit of free that Pro does not offer. If you have a Pro subscription, you cannot invite team members unless they also have a Pro subscription. You can still share designs with them, but you cannot have them as a team. But if you are on a free subscription, you can invite others to be part of your team. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you are interested in a Pro subscription and your organization is a 501c3, they do have a nonprofit option, but it is only for C3s. So unless your club has a foundation, that would not be a way that you would be eligible for it, but it does exist. And you would see here under pricing, and you can click on nonprofits. If you are interested in learning more, just because you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and I want to design millions and millions of things in Canva, and I want Pro, you will see that it costs you $10 a month if you do it as an annual subscription, or $13 a month if you are billed monthly. So just to give you that in case that was a question. Another option I wanted to make you aware of is that they do offer training. So you will see here under Learn, you can go to Tutorials, and they will show you how to get started with Canva, how to use Canva to design. So say you've watched this webinar, you got a few things, and then you come back later and you're like, oh wait, I'm not sure. They do offer tutorials and ways for you to learn how to use the system. And then there's also Design School. So if you're just interested generally in learning more about design and how to become better at learning those programs, you can go ahead and click on courses and you'll see how to use Canva in the classroom. What are graphic design basics, how to master social media, all kinds of different tools that they offer that you can use for learning. Let me check my list and just make sure if I have forgotten to share anything. I think that that's pretty much it as far as a baseline introduction to Canva. Hopefully that is helpful and you guys will be able to get on there right away and get started to canva.com and signing up with your email address and creating a password. Are there any questions that anyone has with regard to Canva? Okay, here we go. Sorry, I do see some in my chat. Okay. I see that Kimberly has mentioned that the Canva Pro subscription is worth the fee because it does give you the option to redesign your sizes. Again, that is something to keep in mind. You can't resize it if you are not on a Canva Pro subscription. Another option, is there a limitation to the field sizes in which you can type, or can you make field sizes bigger? So you can actually change any of the, let's go back here to this sample flyer and I'll show you. You can make the field any size that you want. So say that you want this text to be drop boxes. So you can make that field as big as you want, keeping in mind that the page itself is going to have some limitations. So you can't, obviously now you'll see that I've lost some of my text because I made it too large. But you can completely control within the context of this page, whatever size, however large or small you want it to be. If you want this pink box to be larger size, you can actually go ahead and resize that as well. Sometimes if you want to do a lot of that, it is easier to start with a more simple template or to start with a blank document, which you can do. You don't have to use a template because otherwise you're going to find that there's a lot of different elements that you're going to have to move around and deal with. But yes, there is nothing in the template that cannot be modified. So hopefully that answers that question and that is helpful. Nikki has asked if you can embed live links into the flyers. You know, honestly, that is a good question. I believe you can if you have it set up in the PDF settings, because I know that there are ways that we have done that. I have not actually used it in that way. So what I may have to do is do some more research on that and get back to you on that answer. So I apologize that I don't know because I haven't used it in that way, but I believe that you can. And then I think Dolores asks, yes, Canva will print those items for you. I would suggest that it's probably easier for you to find a local printer, but it is possible for Canva to use that, to do that functionality. When you went down to download, you'll see that there is an option for Canva to print. I guess the last question is, if you are a nonprofit, is the team option available? It is not in the Pro. So again, if you want to do teams, basically you're going to stay with the basic, but you don't have to have a team. You can share any design with anyone else. You just would be sharing that individual design as opposed to sharing your entire collaboration or your entire design. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up on Canva because we do have 2 other techniques. Dolores, feel free to reach out to me separately. I know you've got my email. We can chat about kind of what to do with those flyers once you have them. And Becky and I will both be sharing our emails at the end so that if you have any individual questions about any of these channels, you can go ahead and reach out to us with that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and then go ahead and turn things back over to Becky. Now that we've talked about how to promote your club, how to make lovely flyers, what we want to do is how are you getting more people physically to be aware of the club and learning about the great activities that you're doing? And Becky's going to start us off with that in talking about Volunteer Match. Back over to you, Becky.
Thank you, Christy. And that was so great on Canva. I just want to say one thing about Canva is that the PDF we used for this webinar actually had an embedded link. It was created in Canva. So to answer Nikki's question, yes, you can have a link. That was how we created that flyer for this one here. So if you were able to click that link in the flyer to get onto this webinar, then you were able to use that embedded link. So there you go. So what I'm going to talk about now briefly is Volunteer Match, and I'm going to start with 2 caveats. The first is that Volunteer Match is US based. So I believe that most of the people here right now are in either our district or a US district, but keep in mind if you're coming in internationally, Volunteer Match might not be a good fit for you just based on that alone. So just keep that in mind. The other caveat I want to say is that unlike Facebook, Volunteer Match is a much smaller platform. And so how it works for you is really going to depend on your area and your demographic. So you're going to have to determine the ROI for your club in your area. For instance, my club is Burbank area. There's so many different volunteer opportunities and organizations here that posting can get a little bit lost. If you're in a smaller area, Volunteer Match might be really great for you and might have a really great ROI because there's less competition. So let's go over to Volunteer Match now. So on Volunteer Match, I'm about to share my screen. Here you're going to see the platform main homepage for Volunteer Match. So if someone else is coming on as not as an organization, they're going to see this. They're going to look, say in the Burbank area, and they're going to see what opportunities there are. They are determined by different things here. So for Zonta, there's an advocacy in human rights. I believe there's a women specific one as well. And this is going to be able to show this person looking for volunteer opportunities what's new near Burbank, what's upcoming, what's popular, and then popular or nonprofits and organizations in general. So I just wanted to show you this real quickly so that you could see what a person coming onto Volunteer Match looking for a volunteer opportunity is going to see. So as your organization, you have the option to either do a basic account, which is free, or become a member for $9.95 a month. That's $9.95 a month. Personally, in my area, I don't find that the membership is worth it because I can do everything I want with a free subscription. However, depending on your club and your area, you might find that you do want that paid subscription. So that's totally up to you. So now you can see here what I've done with my basic account is that I've made us a page for our organization. Now, the important thing about this is that it also, like what Christy was talking about with the nonprofit status, is you will need to do this with your foundation. So if you saw, I see here, Burbank Area Foundation Corporation. That's because it actually asked me for my different numbers for the 501c3 and such. So I had to put that here. Now, when I posted on here, I left off the foundation part because we're not really, recruiting people to our foundation as opposed to the club. But I just wanted to point that out as well because Volunteer Match really wants to make sure that you are a nonprofit and a volunteer organization and that you're not a company that's just trying to recruit people. So there's different things you can do for Volunteer Match. Here is the page for our organization. This is just showing what the organization is in general. So as you can see here, it has the different cause areas. This one over here is women, homeless and housing, community, advocacy and human rights, sort of just trying to give a gist of what the organization is about, my screen went away. Sorry, coming back. Sorry about that. Just what the organization is about. So you can put your mission statement here, read more. It's going to have a description. If anybody wrote a review of your club, they could do that. You can link your website, you can link your different social media pages and anything like that. So once you have this main page, which is your organization, you're going to make specific volunteer opportunities. Now there's two things you can do with volunteer opportunities. You can make a post like this one, which I'm going to click on, which is basically a very generic sort of a join the Zonta Club of Burbank area, become a member recruitment. So what we did here is we made it a little bit vague. We said, we'll work with your schedule. There's no fixed address. I put up some requirements here. And this is really just saying, like, we have a club. Can you join our club? The thing that is more successful I have found, though, is to put a specific opportunity in Volunteer Match. And what this might work for you is, let's say you have a fundraiser or a signature event and you want to recruit people just for a fixed time, one date, a couple hours. People on Volunteer Match tend to be looking for those quick opportunities. So while this page here might get some people who are looking to join a club, the more successful avenue is going to be people who are looking for the one time. So let's say you have a Luna Fest and you're looking for a couple volunteers to sell raffle tickets or greet people. What you might want to do is post an opportunity for that one day and those couple hours to get people to help you with your event. And then once they're at your event, they'll learn more about your club, they'll learn more about who you are, and that might prompt them to be a member. So I think the thing is that people might be a little bit afraid on Volunteer Match to say like, oh, I don't want to join a whole club. I was just looking for a one-time quick fix volunteer opportunity. So you sort of want to get them in that way by saying, here, come join us at our fundraiser, come join us at our one signature event, and then sort of get them in the door that way. So that's just something that I have found your mileage will vary. Volunteer match is it's not as popular, but people do get members that way. I know that, for instance, in my area, CASA does very well with volunteer match, and that's because they have one-time information sessions. So when you're not realizing what the total commitment is, you're just signing up for a one-time information session. So this might be good too for a recruitment mixer or maybe a one-time meeting, something like that to get people in the door, and then you can sort of recruit them into the longer area. And even if you don't get members this way, it's helpful to get your branding and get your name out there so that people scrolling through might see it. And if they've never heard of Zonta, they can see it that way. And just real quick, I wanted to show an email of what it looks like when someone says they want to help. So here it is here, the opportunity information, and they come here, and basically they just sign up there saying like, hey, I saw your posting on Volunteer Match, I'm interested, and you can connect with them that way. So that's how that works in that sense with Volunteer Match. So again, Volunteer Match might give you a big ROI, might give you a small ROI. The traction definitely depends on your area and how that, what else is out there for you. The thing with Volunteer Match as well is because, as we saw here, there are new volunteer opportunities or upcoming volunteer opportunities. If you're doing something that's not a fixed event, like a signature event, if you're just trying to promote your club in general, you may need to post it semi-regularly. So if you see here, what I have here, the opportunity, this is just a general join our club, and it's updated here. Now, unfortunately, with the basic account, see when I click repost, I have to become a member to repost instantly. So that is one of the advantages of becoming a member. So because I'm not a member, what I do is I edit it here, and then I might make a small change to what my posting says. Maybe I'll change the verbiage a little bit, maybe I'll add some information, and then I repost it. And reposting it is what makes it active, because if it's been on there for a couple weeks, a couple months, it's going to go to the back, and unless someone is really digging through their zip codes volunteer match opportunities, they might not see it. So that is one thing as well, is that volunteer match does require a little bit of needing to repost unless it is that one specific event. So if you're starting out with volunteer match, that's what I would do, is I would try it for one specific event, and then if that works for you, sort of reach out and maybe do it for your club in general, or do both simultaneously and see what works for you. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some questions because volunteer match isn't really as complicated as the other two. Let's see here. Yeah, so volunteer match, someone is saying, does not seem to be used a lot, only 2 opportunities for women, so it looks like it would need to be promoted along with Zonta. Yes, do you do that? So for our club, we haven't had as much traction with volunteer match. We've only had a couple people that have reached out. So you're right, it isn't used as much. But I find that the people who use volunteer match are more interested, because instead of just, going on Facebook and searching around, they've specifically gone on volunteer match to find a volunteer opportunity. So they're in sort of a different class of people who are really decided, like, I'm going to find a volunteer opportunity. I'm going to go on volunteer match. So you might have less traction, but those volunteers might be more willing, more excited, more passionate about your cause. So, it sort of depends on that sense. You really need to link your different social media, link your website to your volunteer match page, so that from that opportunity, they can learn more about Zonta and your club in general. I see a question here, how do you categorize Zonta's areas of interest? So what I did for our Zonta club is there was a women category. There was an advocacy category. I put those in. There's also, if you look here, there's a skills section. Some people are using volunteer match to help on their skills. So what I did here was advocacy, professional development, public advocacy, fundraising, CSR volunteer coordination, and community outreach. So if someone's looking to work on their advocacy skills, they might be able to find our Zonta page that way. Do you get an alert message if someone is inquiring, or do you have to search? So as I showed in this email here, you get an alert message. So here it says, because it's attached to my email, it says, "Hi Becky, someone wants to help." And it shows you what the opportunity information is, which is important if you have more than one opportunity going on at once. And then it has their volunteer information, usually just their name, email, phone number, zip code, and comments. The generic comments is "I'm willing to help." So someone might just not change the comments, but if they're, looking to personalize it, they might say more about themselves. And so from there, it's your obligation to reach out to that person and work with them about whether it's the signature event or joining your club. Okay, does your club need a foundation to join, or do you use ZI Foundation info? So I found for us, I used our foundation information just so I could go specific like that. I'm not sure if you could use the ZI Foundation information. That's a good question that I can look into, and how people who don't have a foundation might get around that. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer on that, but I will find that out and I can get back to you guys on that. How often do you check Volunteer Match? Weekly? You could check it weekly. I mean, it really, if you're having an event coming up and you're using Volunteer Match for that purpose, it might be good to do it a little bit more often leading up to your event, or while you're recruiting people to help volunteer at your event. So otherwise, weekly might be a little bit overkill. I would say I probably check it about monthly, just because that way it's still being recent, but it's not too much in everybody's faces, because people who are looking for volunteer opportunities can sign up for emails that they get weekly. So it really depends how much you want to be out there. You could do it every day, and then people might get your email that's, Zonta all the time, or you could do it sporadically. It really depends on your time, what you're willing to commit to, and how much of an ROI you think you're going to get from Volunteer Match. So that's a little bit there. And the other thing that I just wanted to mention about Volunteer Match too is that, like Facebook, it's really great to be able to see what's going on in your area, to see what the other organizations are, and to look through those categories so that you can see, well, who else is using the women category and who else is using the advocacy category, so that maybe we want to work with those other groups. Maybe we want to attend their event. If you have, if you need an idea for a summer social and you want to do a one-time opportunity for your club, maybe you can find something that you can all sign up to volunteer together. So, you don't necessarily need to use it just for Zonta, but to help your Zontians organize other things, go with other volunteer opportunities. So I like Volunteer Match, but again, it is not necessarily the end all be all. So you really have to decide whether you think it'll work for you. And because you can do a basic account, if you want to try it, and if you find you're getting no traction, well, then that's okay. You've spent nothing. You've just used a little bit of time. So I think that I think Volunteer Match can work well in that way. All right, Anne posted a message. Clubs without a 501c3 are covered under ZI's 501c4. Okay, so that's a really good point. So if you don't have a foundation and you don't have a 501c3, Volunteer Match might not be a great fit for you. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I am going to give it over to Christy, who's going to talk about a platform that is a little bit similar to Volunteer Match, but is more general and not just for volunteers and nonprofits in general. So Christy, take it away.
Thanks, Becky. Thank you so much. That was great. And again, what we're trying to do is give you some different suggestions. We talk all the time, and we used to say when I was in the chamber world, if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. And while we have a lot of similarities with Zonta clubs, I think that is also true. We are all in different size communities, and the things that work in, for example, in our area, Porterville, would not necessarily work in Orange County, and vice versa. So our goal with all of these things is to say, try it out. It might work amazingly for your club, it might not, but then you're able to say, well, we've done that. And as we always say, anything that helps to brand Zonta is also doing our role in the world of introducing our people to this organization. So the last thing we're going to talk about is actually Meetup. And Meetup can also be used in two ways. The downside to Meetup as a tool to recruit members is there is no free option. So in order to do this, you do have to be willing to put a little bit of skin in the game. One thing I would like to say about Meetup though is you really have to think about for your club, what is the ROI? I will give you an example. In our club in Newport Harbor, I did a meetup for 4 months. I paid for it out of my pocket because I wanted us to try it. We got one member, which may not seem like a lot, but that woman has been a member now for 3 years. She served on our board for 2 years. She typically spends over $1,000 at our annual fundraiser. So I spent $45 to get her as a member, and our organization has benefited and continues to benefit. So it's just about thinking about what does a new member look like to you and what's the investment worth on that. The other thing to think about as it relates to how much that member might be worth to you, and I apologize, I just completely lost my train of thought. So we're going to skip over to that. But it is a good tool. There is just no way to do it as a free version if you want to promote your club. What you can do for Meetup, and I'm going to click over and show you, is you can use it to find out what other organizations and entities are doing things in your community. And you can show up at some of those meetups with your Zonta hat on and talk about Zonta and talk about women's empowerment. And you may find that they're interested in learning more and attending. So that's a way that you can use Meetup in a free way. What other organizations that might be of interest for prospective members are happening in your community? So let's go ahead and go to Meetup and we'll show you a couple different ways. Bear with me for just 1 second while I get you back into my screen share. So here's the example that I was talking about with Meetup if you just want to find some new meetups. Meetups, the other thing I wanted to mention, and now that it's come back to me, is the thing with Meetup is volunteer match is specifically for people who know they want to volunteer and they're looking for an opportunity. Meetup is just a place where people are going to find and connect with other people. They may or may not know they want to volunteer, but if they find out that you're doing things having to do with women's equality or volunteering or helping in your community, you'd be surprised. So I think it's also thinking about Meetup is introducing you to a much larger audience of people who may not yet know that fellowship and volunteering is something that they're interested in. So this is my Meetup page. I'm a member of Meetup, and you'll see I'm part of a book club, so this is an activity that I'm going to. But if I wanted to look for things in my community, for example, that maybe were related to women, I can type in women within 25 miles in Irvine. It's going to default you to the calendar. We don't necessarily want the calendar. We want to click on groups, and here is what I will see are all of the groups that relate specifically to women. They may or may not be the right fit, but this is just, I'm just showing you an example of how you can search. So there's a women's social meetup, there's Orange County Women Entrepreneurs. These are all different organizations that are relating to women within 25 miles of my home that I might be interested in attending one of their meetups, learning. Now, I do have to have the caveat, obviously right now is not necessarily the ideal time to be using Meetup because we are, most of us, stuck in home. But some of these meetups are doing virtual, and especially if you're not as comfortable in networking or this is a start for you, might be a good way to attend a virtual event and kind of dip your toe into it and see how it feels. So that's one way that you can use Meetup, is just to find other groups that might be a good target for you to find club members. But if you want to have your own group, and also something else I want to mention, you don't have to do this by yourself as a club. For example, in District 9, as you may or may not be aware, we are actually using some district membership funds, and we are giving 2 areas an opportunity. We're going to sponsor their Meetup participation for the next 6 months so they can see if this works for you. So that's something else to think about. If you have a sister club that's nearby, maybe you go in together and you split the cost of the meetup and you see. Because what you're going to see is you can individually allocate your events. So this is our Zonta Club of Newport Harbor meetup page. I just created this page last night, again, as an example, because we're working on the district page. This is a little different, but I wanted to be able to show you. So if someone was to search and they found Zonta, they were interested, this is what they would see. Here's a photo of our club members at our grants dinner. There's a description. When we do have members, we would show you how many members we have. You have an opportunity to include a description here. So again, very similar to Volunteer Match. Put whatever information in here you think is going to sell your club when someone comes and wants to learn. For us, we promote a lot how much we give back to the community. So you'll see here I've included our number of that we've contributed to local organizations, how much we've done in service projects, things that show this potential prospective members what we're actually doing. and then I can list any of our events. Now, if you are going to do Meetup, I'm going to strongly recommend that you put all of your events in there, not just your business meetings, but if you're having a LunaFest, if you have another volunteer opportunity, anything that's an opportunity for people to engage with your club, make sure that you're listed. I've just listed this here as an example so that you can see that this is our virtual meeting and that someone can go ahead and RSVP to attend this event with us. Normally, if we were meeting in person, it would have the clubhouse address. It would tell them all of that information. And then if someone is interested, they can go ahead and click attend. Now, someone can join your Meetup and they don't have to go to your events. So the other thing with Meetup, as I was showing you that I'm a member of a Meetup book club, if I come across this Meetup and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that Zonta thing, I'm gonna see if I wanna learn more, they can just become a member of your group and then they will become alerted when you have new events or when you have new activities. So you may find that you will have a lot of members who don't automatically directly come to any of your meetings, but what you can do is you can use that to build a relationship with them. So when you have a Meetup, anytime anyone joins your Meetup, you will actually, there's two things. They will get a welcome message. So when you set your Meetup, you will actually write your welcome message and tell them what you would want to share with them. I'll give you an example. Here's a welcome message that I got from a group that I joined. Welcome to our group. Here's when we meet. Click here. You could put your club website page, any information that you wanted to share. So anyone who just clicked on the join this group would automatically receive this welcome message. And again, it's a branding opportunity. It's a way for you to reach out to them and say, let me tell you more about Zonta. You will also get an email notification that says this person joined your Meetup. This is back in when we used to have a Meetup. So when this woman, Danielle, joined our Meetup, I got an email and I could send her an individual message. Hi, Danielle, thanks so much for joining our Meetup. What was it about Zonta that intrigued you? What information? But it gives you an opportunity to have a one-on-one dialogue with people who've expressed an interest in your club because they joined your Meetup. So that's one way. And then once you have your meeting coming up, you will actually receive a notification of who has RSVP'd. So again, this is Bonnie Bach. She's our member that became a member through Meetup. She had RSVP'd to this event. So I can go ahead and message her and say, we're really looking forward to seeing you at our December meeting. We have our happy hour from 6 to 6:30. Please look for Wendy, she'll welcome you. Meetup gives you a lot of opportunities to really interact one-on-one with people once they join your group. So that's another thing, and it's really a nice thing that you may consider would be worth paying for if you're going to do that, because you can really connect with folks. So that's a few things. Again, we're running a little late on time. What we're trying to do with this is give you an example to say, this might be something that you want to consider and how to go about getting started. As with Canva, Meetup has lots of help tools. So you can go, basically, if you go down to the help tab, you will see, how do I start a Meetup group? What does an organizer look like? How do I host these events? All kinds of questions that would be answered for you in terms of that Meetup and give you some tips and tools and ways to do it. And I want to share with you just super quickly, it's as easy as clicking start a new group in this button. So you have to have your own Meetup account, but you literally click start a new group and it's a 4-step process. What is your hometown? We can say Irvine just for the sake of it. Just like what Becky was showing you, this is where you're going to grab people's attention. These are going to be the tags that they're going to look at if they're interested. So again, we want to find things that are women related. So you can see here, I can tag women's empowerment. I can tag women's social. I can tag women's networking. I can change any of these things that are women. So the keywords that you want to look for example, women. You can look for volunteering. So you'll see here, volunteering, nonprofit, community service. You can also look for equal rights. You can scroll through and find all of these. These are just 3 tags that I recommend that you start for. So gender equality, women's rights, social movements. That means that anybody who's interested in these activities that's coming to Meetup, your Meetup is going to show up in their feed. That's how you're going to get traction with this. Meetup does that work for you. If you create a group and you say that these are the things that you're working on, when someone comes in and says that this is what they're interested in, Meetup's going to direct them to you. So that's how you just literally click next. You're going to put your description in, and then your Meetup will be approved by a moderator, and you will be good to go. And once you have created, if you want to see the tags that you have, you can see down here related topics. So these are all the things that we have used to tag for ourselves. I apologize for rushing through that. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time and stay within our time frame. Let me see. Oh, and then there was a question, so of course, and I didn't mention that. So what is the cost for Meetup? So Meetup, again, just with Canva, has options where you can either pay monthly or you can pay annually. It is $15 a month if you choose to pay monthly. And I apologize, I'm of course blanking on what the payment is if you choose to pay annually. So let me go and see if I can find it. Again, there is a cost. It is not free, so I want to be fair with that. But I am blanking on what the difference is. We pay monthly. So it's $15 a month if you choose to do it monthly. It's actually less than that if you sign up for a 6-month listing. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead. I didn't see any other questions that were specific to Meetup. I'm going to go ahead and put up real quickly 2 things. Here are my email and Becky's emails. We will also put them in the chat box. But if you have any other questions, if you want some individual help with any of these, feel free to go ahead and reach out to us. We'd be happy to do that. One last thing, because we do want to oh, you know what? I apologize. I realized that I told you I was going to show them, and then I did not share the correct tab on my screen. The wonders of technology. Bear with me for just one moment. I will do the screen share and get you the info on our emails. So here, oh, sorry, yeah, and I did put them in there. Here are my email and Becky's email. And then lastly, we are interested in your opinions. Was this valuable for you? Are you using these tools in other ways that we did not talk about? Are there tools that your club is using that you want to learn more? And are you interested in hearing more of these webinars? Please click on that link to the Bitly survey and share with us that feedback so that we can go ahead and know. We want to make sure we're responding to what the needs are for the district. And as Brittany mentioned, it will be recorded, so this will be available for you as well. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Brittany so she can close us
out. Wonderful, ladies. Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for all of your hard work today. Becky and Christy, I think that you've given our district and even some Zonta members outside of our district a lot to think about and a lot to go off of. So again, if you want to contact any of us, Christy and Becky have put their emails up for you. I can also be contacted at lieutenantgovernor@zontadistrict9.org.